September. Give me a second to get all set up here. If anyone's out there, feel free to drop a comment. I don't think anyone's in here just yet, though. Usually takes about 60 seconds or so, maybe a minute and a half for the first 5 people to hop in. Get this chat ready. And if you saw the title, I am going to visit REL in a couple of days. So I'd love to know what questions you guys have. I'm going to be checking out the entire new Series S line. So I want you guys to tell me what do you want to know about it, right? What questions do you have? Do you want me to try to tell you guys what some of them sound like, what some of the differences are? Do you have questions about the tech, things like that, or just any general questions for REL in particular? What kind of coverage do you want to see? You know, I may not be capable of the specific coverage you guys want. I'm not going to be able to cover the REL event the way, say, you know, Jay-Z Aggie covered his Samsung event, right? I don't have a cameraman to follow me around and do that. He's way better at that than I am. I see there's 4 people in here. What's up, guys? What's up? Give me a second to get this chat popped out. The chat is popped out. Easy. One downside for today's live stream, this only affects me, but I usually have my laptop and then I usually have a 27-inch monitor. I don't have that 27-inch monitor. I'm working off a 13-inch laptop right now. So if a ton of questions come in, if I lose my place, it is what it is, right? But so until the questions start rolling in, I'm going to tell you guys what I'm expecting from the REL event. It's a private event, I'm pretty sure. They've invited me to fly up and visit them a couple of times. Their facility is not too far away from me. I think it's about a 2-hour flight. We're both in California. Mac, what's up? I see you in the comments. Welcome to the stream. So they've invited me up a bunch of times. They're like, hey, it's like a 2-hour flight. Like, come check us out. You know, if you ever want to hear a 6-pack of this or that, or and I've always been too busy, but I'm like, you know what? I got to make time. If I don't make the time, I'm never going to have the time. I could say no forever. So this time I was just like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go. I'm going to check out their facility. I'm going to see what they got going on. You know what I mean? I love their subwoofers. So what I'm curious about is the new Carbons, the new Carbon Limited. As someone who owns a pair of Carbon Specials, I want to know what the new Carbon Limited is going to be like, because the S850, the new one, which replaced the S812, I have a review sample and it's like, in a lot of ways, it's very close to the outgoing Carbon Special. Not in all ways. So anyone who owns a Carbon Special, don't feel like, you know, you got robbed or something. Don't let FOMO bother that. There's still a little bit of a gap between 850 and Carbon Special, but nowhere near as big of a gap as there was between S812 and Carbon Special. So that's really interesting. It really seems like they put a lot into this. And I know based on my, I have NDAs on file with a lot of companies. So I do hear whispers a little bit earlier than most people. And it's kind of crazy. Like, this was not something they rolled out in 6 months, guys. I'll tell you that. This has been in the works for quite a few years. REL's just, they don't play games when it comes to their R&D. I remember like 3 years ago, I called one of the engineers and he was like, he hadn't gotten back to me a few times, and he was like, sorry. He's like, you have an NDA on file, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, cool. He's like, I've just been really busy working on the new Series S drivers. And I'm like, I feel like that's quite a few years out. And he's like, yeah, it probably is. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, well, these guys don't mess around. Max says that sounds like a shit ton of fun. Yeah, dude. I think it'll be super fun. I'm flying out Wednesday morning. I'll spend the whole day with them. I'm sure they got like demos planned and things like that. Maybe a nice dinner right afterwards. I got a hotel for one night over there. I'll spend Thursday with them, and then like Thursday late afternoon, I'm flying back home. So it's not a long trip. I'm not going to be there for like a week or anything. Just pretty much like just under 48 hours, which I think is really all that's needed for a product spotlight, a product demo, things like that. And for the few of you that are in here, please hit the like button. It helps YouTube circulate this live stream to the other subscribers that may not know it's happening. YouTube is interesting. Just because you're subscribed, it doesn't mean it's going to recommend a content creator's live stream. YouTube waits for the few people that are in there to click like first before they let other subscribers know the stream is happening. And on that note, I totally forgot to drop this in my Discord group. So give me a second while I do that, guys. All right, I got the link. Let's hop over to Discord. And guys, if you're not in the free Discord group, it is free. The link's in the description box of all my videos. It's not a super chatty place. It's pretty relaxed. It's not like a forum where there's constant chatter. But it's a great place to just, jump in and, just like if you say you're just feeling a chat hi-fi with some people here and there a little bit, it's just a nice relaxing place where you could do that without any judgment. And, we're happy to help give people setup advice, purchase advice, things like that. There's a lot of guys in there with a lot of experience and knowledge. So most reviewers charge to have access to them in a private chat group like Discord. I don't charge for that, I'm one of the few people. My Discord is free, man. So has anyone dropped a chat on? There's only like 2 messages. We're at like 5 minutes. Usually there's like a bunch of like, hey, what's ups in there? Let me just check. I'm going to reload it. Sometimes it crashes. Sometimes it gets stuck in slow mode. Nah, no one's asking questions, which is all good. WM Govin says, looking forward to the new series. Yeah, man, it's like, I'll tell you this, so far, the new S850, just like when I unboxed it, I was like, holy crap, like it is so much nicer aesthetically. The fit and finish is just so nice. Like the handles on the side, the REL like insignia on the top, it's in this like matte brushed, what looks like maybe steel. And it looks so good. It's almost got like a slight, maybe like nickel finish to it, if you will. It's no longer polished. And I think the new driver looks amazing. The new cabinet is shorter. They're all a little shorter and a little wider. Kind of like what they did with the Predator 1510. And that's great for a few reasons. One, it allows them to use a larger cabinet without ending up with a subwoofer that looks so much larger. The shorter the subwoofer is, in my opinion, the smaller it looks once it's on the floor, in the room, in its place. When subwoofers get like taller and things like that and stick out from the wall a ton, that's when they start to dominate the room and look massive. And at some point, if you want massive bass, you're going to have to deal with some level of the subwoofers taking over the room. But a pair of S850s would not look like behemoths in most rooms. WM says football is on. Yeah. I'm not a huge sports guy, so I never remember that, but all my friends are into it. I like to make the joke, I'm not into sports. My father failed me, you know what I mean? What can I say? Dan says he absolutely loves his pair of S510s. Yeah. Fun fact, Dan. So John Hunter, the owner of REL, in his personal stereo, in his personal theater, because, he can use any of his subwoofers. And I asked him one time, I said, which one of your model ranges do you use in your home? And he's like, I love the S510. It's just so quick and explosive and dynamic. And for my room, a 6-pack of S510s is what was perfect. And they're incredible, And if I remember correctly, the way that actually came up, I don't think I asked. I think what happened was I was reviewing the S510 and I was just so impressed with it. And I told him that, and he was like, "Yeah, now you know why that's the one I use in my home for my personal system." And then we got to talking about it. I think that's what happened. My memory's a little bit hazy, and if anyone's like, "Oh wow, you like talk to him?" Yeah, a lot of these, not all companies, but some companies, when you review their products, the owners like to be involved, especially if the owner is the lead engineer, which isn't always the case, right? Like if we look at Buchart Audio, for example, Mads himself, he knows a lot, don't get me wrong. But I don't think, even if you ask him, I don't think he'd consider himself an engineer, right? Mads is the business owner. He's the visionary behind the company, but he has a head engineer he employs. Whereas with some other companies like REL, John Hunter is the lead engineer and the owner, right? It's not always like that, but when it is, they tend to be more involved in answering questions, whether they be about setup, pairing, things like that, which is always cool, right? Dan Black, what's up? He says, yep, met him at Audio Advice last year. Spent a lot of time with him. Yeah, that's the crazy thing about John Hunter. He is, I've seen him at a few not at a few, just a couple of times in public situations, right? Whether it be a dealer event or something else, right? And the amount of time he's willing to spend with someone, it's just not what you would expect. I don't know if it's because maybe I make the mistake of assuming like, oh, like he owns the company, he's got to be like some busy CEO or something. But like the dude loves to talk about this stuff, which is super cool. And honestly, that's been my experience with like quite a few guys like high up in the audio industry. So, my advice would be, guys, if you're at a show and you see the owner at one of these companies and you're a fan, walk up to them. Whether it's Dan at Emotiva or, John Hunter at REL or, forgive me, I don't have a lot of names of a lot of business owners in my head, but whoever it may be, if you see them and you want to chat with them, go and try. Most of them are usually more than happy to chat with people. I certainly have seen a few that you could tell they're more that classical engineer that doesn't, like a whole lot of conversation, if you will. Some people, a lot of social interaction can be burdensome for them. And I've definitely seen some hi-fi business owners like that, but most are very social, which is pretty cool. Like Itai from Heaven 11, the guy who makes the Billy amp, super cool, regular guy, loves to chat hi-fi. You know what I mean? It's good stuff. Dan is saying John Hunter has a wealth of knowledge. Yeah. A few times when I've talked to John, I've had to ask him to dumb it down, and then he dumbs it down, and then I have to ask him to now dumb that down one more time for me. That's not uncommon. And it's not even because he's using big words. It's just like some of the stuff is like, I mean, if I have like, let's be really, really nice to me and say I've got a decade of subwoofer expertise, which I wouldn't say I do. I've been playing with them much longer than that, but expertise, I'd say, I don't know if I'd consider myself a subwoofer expert even 5 years ago. Whereas someone like John Hunter has had his expertise for decades, and I love listening to guys like that just know so much. Chris says, like your apartment and interior decor, very tasteful. Thank you. I tried to have a Pinterest home. You wouldn't think, most like if you see me out in public, like you probably wouldn't think like this is how I live, but like, yeah, I like my shit clean. You know what I mean? It's hard sometimes to keep the clutter down. I'm a big clutter person, man. Like I'm sitting at my kitchen island right now, and if you saw like all the things that are on my island, like I'll tell you what they are. I've got a set of earplugs over here. Have no idea why. Beard lotion, my wallet. I have some business cards from Axpona over here. This is all in this corner. I've got some kind of microfiber cloth. I've got a brand new in the box like Roku kit that I've never used. Over here, I've got a box I need to throw away. I have like a little chest bag that probably has a toothbrush in it. I have a laptop that's new that I've never used. I have a little small box over here of a little tray. Like the clutter is so hard for me, man. But like overall cleanliness, like of the main space, you know what I mean? You can see what I mean? Like I'm pretty good. But it's more the kitchen area I struggle with, man. Mac says, where did the S400s go? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean, Mac. Like I still have my S400 originals. I still own my S400 Mark IIs and the Bucard E50s. So like the S400 Mark IIs are still my daily driver. I'm not sure what you mean by where'd they go. In fact, I have a video coming up where I compare the S400 Mark II to the Philharmonic Ceramic Mini, where I do those like cheap versus expensive comparisons that like I've done in the past 2 weeks, which seems like a lot of people don't like. Those videos are getting really bad views. Seems like people don't like those videos at all, but I've always said, like, I make content for the people that enjoy it. I make content primarily, the way I try to look at it is like, I'm going to make what I think is cool. And if other people think it's cool, they'll watch it. And if they don't think it's cool, they won't watch it. And like, that's okay. I'm a big believer in like, you try to satisfy everyone, you end up satisfying no one. So you got to just do what's in here if you're a content creator, at least if you're a non-monetized content creator like me, where there's no like profit motive. I got to just do what's in here, man. And people either dig it or they don't. Now, if I was a monetized channel and this was a for-profit venture, I'd probably stop making those videos and go in a different direction, right? But that's not the case. Dan Black says, you still have your carbon specials? Yeah, I own a pair of carbon specials, yeah. Unless REL is like, just calls me and is like, hey, we will swap you out for free. Like, I would totally take them up on that. I don't imagine that would happen. I didn't buy my carbon specials from them. I bought them from my neighbor. So they were not involved in any of the money changing hands. That would be like a crazy professional courtesy, which it wouldn't be like 100% unlikely. Like I have had that happen where like I've had something older that I bought, then the company releases a new model and I asked like, hey, like I'm a reviewer. I talk about this a good amount. I see you have a new model. Like, will you swap? Like, I didn't, what's it called? Like, I didn't get this review sample from you. I bought this on my own, like back in the day, but will you like swap me out for the newer version? And sometimes like companies are like, yeah, no problem. And other times they won't even reply to your email. I've only done it like 1 or 2 times. No, I think just 1 time, honestly. Yeah. Valentin Perju says, we need RSL subwoofers in Europe ASAP. You can get them in Europe. They will ship to Europe. It's just the cost. I think I talked to a guy who got a quote and it was about $300 to get a 10S there. And at that point, it's hard to make it make sense. The 12S might make more sense. I don't know what that would cost to get in Europe, but a 12S maybe. Maybe that would I don't know, but it's tough. You know, you take a subwoofer that's right around $500, you add 300 to it. So now it's like 800 euro or so. Can it compete with other subwoofers at that price? Yeah. Like an S510 has more output than an SB1000. RSL 10S has more output than a REL 1205 Mark II. The RSL 10S has a lot of output for how small it is. By the way, drink of the day in here. This is a Yeti Hydro Flask thingy. It's crazy how we still call them Hydro Flasks. Like Hydro Flask is another brand that like no one uses anymore. But anyways, this is a Yeti, and I got water, ice, and a whole can of Waterloo strawberry sparkling water in here. Fantastic. Oh, also, and a pinch of salt. I put a pinch of Malden's salt in there. Fantastic. Carlo Gomez says, what do you think about the new REL S line? I mean, bro, I'm going to visit REL in a couple of days where I'll get to hear all of them. For now, I just have the 850. I shouldn't say just have the 850. I mean, it's pretty cool that I have a review sample this soon already. It's remarkable. It's fantastic. It's great. I mean, like it's hard to like talk about stuff when I haven't like published my review just yet, because I don't want to like sit here and say all the things I'm going to say in the review. But what I'd say is this: if anyone's like right now on the fence about buying a new REL S850 and my review's not out yet, you are welcome to jump in my free Discord, and I will do my best to answer any questions you have. If it really relates to a purchase, I won't gatekeep, you know, any of my impressions if you're really looking to buy one. But if it's just for entertainment, you do have to wait for my review for the most part. But I'll say this, I said it in the beginning, you might have missed it. The REL S850 is very close to my carbon specials in a lot of ways. But Not so much that I feel like, oh man, like I should sell my carbons and get S850s, because like my carbons are still better in some ways also, right? Like the carbon special is still an absolute monster and an absolute unit of a subwoofer. Anyone who knows one or who owns one should be very happy. Dan Rabb says, "Love your content, man. No BS." Thanks, Dan. I don't know why I called you Dan. It's a D. Maybe it's Dan, but thank you, bro. I appreciate that. That's what I aim for. I try to be like the no bullshit guy, which sometimes it can be tough because I want to be like even more candid in my videos sometimes. But the reality is like, human nature is such that if I criticize a product or point out a shortcoming very candidly, it's all anyone will hear. You know, I'll give you an example, man. I'll give you an example straight up, no bullshit. The Triangle Comet 40th. If you watch my review, I talk about how at low volumes, it's great. It's got this sound that's fairly balanced, really open, really effortless, right? But when you turn it up, its character changes. It becomes a little bit more analytical, a little bit more detail focused, a little bit more forward. And like the reality is the speaker just doesn't do all that great. Like it just doesn't. But if I like sat down and filmed and was like, speaker sounds good at low volumes, but when you turn it up, it has shit for bass and sounds like really shouty. That's all anyone will hear. And then the guys who, you know, are just looking for a great low volume speaker are going to just write it off their list. And the reality is I wish sometimes I could go, because sometimes like later I have clarity on better ways I could have said these things. Like when I reviewed the Triangle Comet 40th, if I could go back today with the knowledge and experience in describing things that I have now, right? Because we get better as time passes, right? I'd probably say something like, hey, this is a great speaker for low volume listeners. If you're a high volume listener, you may want to consider something else. I found the speaker's, you know, highest fidelity, its best sonic qualities were available around the 75 dB range or less. And if you want to get louder than that, I'm sure Triangle and other brands make products that can handle that. But this one is for my low volume guys. I would have said something like that. You know what I mean? But I didn't, you know, so I wasn't as no bullshit as I would have liked to have been. Sometimes it's tough, especially when the thing you don't like really bothers you. Like it really bothered me because I'm not a 75 dB listener. I like listening at 80, and that 5 dB makes a big difference. So I did not enjoy my time reviewing it. And because there was so much like personal shit there, my mind wasn't clear enough to be candid and clear in a way that made sense, you know, which is, it is what it is. I think most reviewers, if you talk to them, they have a few reviews. If they could go back, they'd film them a little bit differently. It is what it is, man. Sorry, guys, I'm just seeing where I left off here. A few comments came in when I went on my ramble. Carlos says, what do you do for an actual living? I don't really like to talk about work, to be honest with you, bro. Not here, not in live streams, really, for the most part. Sometimes like me and the guys in the Discord talk about stuff like that, where like, that's like a little bit more personal. And I don't mind personal questions. You can ask me personal questions. I don't mind that. And I'll just decide if like I'm going to answer them or not. But I'd rather not get into what I do for a living. And the main reason is honestly, bro, there's haters out there. There's haters out there. It's the truth, man. And I know reviewers that have had like people show up like at their door, like legit, you know, and that wouldn't be a good idea with me. You know what I mean? For their sake, you know. So I don't need anyone. I mean, not that anyone can get me in trouble at my job, like I run shit, but yeah, just the less people know about my personal life as it relates to my like day job financial earnings and my actual physical location, the more comfortable I am, you know, if that makes sense. I don't want to deal with like legal problems with having to like defend myself or something. And I know you're probably like, what do you mean? Is that like, I swear, like guys with bigger channels have like told me about that. They're like, it's a thing. It's a thing. Like sometimes you'll just bump into someone in public that hates you, you know? Dan Black says, of course, LOL. What are you responding? I don't know what you're responding to. Oh, sorry, Dan. I don't know what the reference is to that. Maybe something I said about REL. I don't know, or the carbon special maybe. Chris 200 says, "What do you think was better? Was the better speaker, independent of price?" Okay, so regardless of price, Dynaudio Evoke 10 or Dynaudio Emit 20? Great question. Great question. Love that. I feel like I could have been more clear in that video. The truth is, I like the Emit 20 more than the Evoke 10. I do. But if you're asking me which one is better, I think that was pretty clear in my video. The Evoke 10 does give us better separation. It does give us more air. It does give us a little bit more detail. It does give us a mid-range that has a little bit more expansiveness to it. A little bit better like vocal imaging and projection, and just believe it or not, stage is larger despite being smaller. The smaller Evoke 10 is the technically better speaker. But if for some reason I maybe I had an extra bedroom and Dynaudio was like, hey, we're gonna give you a free speaker for this extra room you have where you're doing this like secondary stereo. Do you want the Emit 20 or the Evoke 10? I'd take the Emit 20 because I like the sound of that one more. They use the same tweeter, which is a very good tweeter. The Emit 20 I just like it more, man. You know, whereas the Evoke 10 has that ever so slight rise in the mid range. It's really small, but like it's a little bit similar to the ATC SCM19, Zoo DWX, Fritz Carbon 7. That kind of like extra mid range presence voicing is not for me personally. So, simple answer, Evoke 10's technically the better. Emit 20 is the one I would take. And that's, you know, that's putting price aside and that's putting aesthetics aside also. So, because aesthetically, I couldn't live with something as plain Jane as the Emit 20. I don't like vinyl wrapped cabinets. I'm a bit of a diva. I like real wood veneers and paint. But Emit 20 would get my vote. D-Rab says, would love to hear your take on Martin Logan Abyss sub. So, D, I don't usually, give me a second. I got a little bit of OCD here. I gotta turn up my screen brightness. God damn it. Oh, that's better. That's better. I don't know why it even mattered to me. But I just had to do that. So Abyss, I turned it up too much. It's bothering me now. God, do you guys ever do that where you're like, you try to adjust something, like maybe the volume of the TV and the remote's on the other side of the couch. So you got to get up, you grab it, and then, you know, you turn it up and then you're like, damn, I turned it up too loud. Then you got to go, little idiosyncrasies of us audiophiles. We get a little overly picky sometimes, I suppose. So Abyss subwoofers. Maybe. Historically, I do not like subwoofers with passive radiators with a traditional design. I know what everyone's thinking. What do you mean, Nemo? You love REL subwoofers and you love the Bucard S400, both of which are passive radiator products. Yes, and those two products are the exception. For the most part, I don't like products with passive radiators. In my experience, most subwoofers with passive radiators, they're great for what they're trying to accomplish, which the technical goal is to get us pretty close to a vented sub in terms of like output and sound and room rumble, but in a more compact configuration, right? That's the goal generally. That's not REL's goal with their passive radiators, and that's why theirs sound different. They don't take the traditional approach to designing and engineering them. But most passive radiator subs I've heard, I've sent back without a review because they tend to sound just like vented subs, meaning they lack a lot of leading edge clarity. They can rumble like hell, which is great. Basically what they essentially are, in my experience, is fantastic compact LFE subs for a home theater environment. They're fantastic for that, but I review subwoofers for primarily stereo 2-channel usage. But that's not to say they're all like that. I haven't heard the Abyss. It may not be like that. I don't know. I want to review a different sub under that umbrella. I want to review the Paradigm XR11, but right now I have the Dynamo 10. So I'm like kind of in the phase with that brand where I have to like basically review shit I don't want to review to get to the point where I can review something I want to review, if that makes sense. And I've already reviewed 2 subs I didn't want to review, which is the Dynamo 12, which was fantastic. The Dynamo 12 was absolutely amazing. I didn't really want to review the Dynamo 10, but I figured I asked for it just to be clear, but usually with companies, it makes sense. I get it. You know what I mean? They're not going to give you like their $5,000 sub right away. They want to, work with you on a couple other reviews first. So, maybe D-Rab, maybe. Dan Black asks if I do any vinyl. I don't, bro. I don't own any physical media. As you can see, I'm a bit of a minimalist. I don't like to own a lot of things. I'm not a collector. I do know vinyl can sound absolutely remarkable. I've heard high-end vinyl setups. My desire to have a clean and simple space with minimal physical media is just more important to me. D-Rab is saying, I think you're building on what you're saying about the Abyss. You want to know how it compares to Rhythmics I've reviewed? I wouldn't hold your breath on that, bro. Very few subwoofers can do what Rhythmic does. Very few. That's... I'm sure you notice a lot of times when I review subwoofers, I don't bring up Rhythmic a lot. If I did, my reviews a lot of them would turn into like, this Rhythmic one is better. That's what it would turn into. And if you guys are like, well, if that's the truth, why don't you say it? Well, a few things would happen if I did that. One, everyone would just start saying I'm a shill for Rhythmic. And every time this guy reviews a sub, he says the Rhythmic is better. So people would just stop believing me because that's human nature. It is what it is. The second thing that would happen is a lot of people would be dissuaded from buying subwoofers that are actually very good. Just because a subwoofer doesn't sound like a Rhythmic doesn't mean it's bad. Also, Rhythmic's not available outside of the US for the most part. It's available in a couple countries outside of the US through like independent dealers, but it's not available outside the US. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for me to do that. Also, it's just straight up, brands would stop sending me review samples. If I became the guy that just kept recommending Rhythmic all the time, like no one would send me a review sample, guys. So, and not everyone wants the Rhythmic sound. Rhythmic is a very SQ sub. It's a very high fidelity sub. Guys that want that little more drama with their bass, you might like JL more, So, or you might be in a region where like, maybe you have options like SVS and Martin Logan and like Polk Audio, which Polk Audio doesn't make shit. So like your real options like Martin Logan or SVS, right? So if I just sit here and be like, oh, Rhythmic's better, like I'm not helping anyone, right? But again, I got a free Discord for shit like that. If anyone wants just my most absolute rawest, like I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks opinion, you can ask me in my free Discord and I'll be as candid as humanly possible. I don't give a shit. And if there are any manufacturers in there that are like trying to keep an eye on me, like I don't give a fuck. But yeah, D-Rab, I would not expect the Abyss to outperform a single Rhythmic subwoofer. I wouldn't. The design makes that very difficult. Very difficult. Chris 200, how do you rate DACs for importance in the audio chain as far as sound quality is concerned? So that's an interesting question because I've talked to people that believe the DAC is the most important part of your signal chain. But to me, most DACs have been what I would describe more as a nuance change, a nuance upgrade. Not always. If you go from something like using the internal DAC of like a WIM, a Blue Sound Note, or some other, sub $3,000 streamer, and you step up to something like a live harmony, whether it's the full size or the micro, that's going to be more than a nuance change. But I think it kind of depends what you value in the sound. I think, excuse me, it's one of the downsides of drinking sparkling water on stream. If you're the detail first customer and you're fanatical about clarity, airspace, separation, and resolution, then I think a DAC may be higher up on the importance scale for your signal chain. But if you tend to prefer tonality, texture, a little bit of warmth, naturalness, you know, you're more like that's how I am, then maybe you will not feel it's as significant. Everything matters at the end of the day, but I'll answer the question like this. If I was starting my build over from the beginning and I had to, you know, spread out my money over a period of a few months, I would first get a great amplifier. I think a great amplifier is the true foundation of the system, followed by a great subwoofer. If I could have a great subwoofer, a great amplifier, and cheap speakers and a cheap streamer with a cheap internal DAC, I think that would sound better than having no sub or a crappy sub, inexpensive entry-level amp, and really great speakers and a really great DAC. I think that system would, the second system would sound worse. Dan asks, or says, I've heard the Carbon Specials multiple times. To me, they are the best subs I've heard. Yeah, they're incredible. They're incredible, man. RK says, hey, Nemo, big fan from India. What's up, RK? Always love to see my guys from India. And always, man, I wish there was something I could do about you guys' import taxes, tariffs, and duties. I know you guys got it bad over there, man. You know, I know some stuff, especially electronics, can be double the price, you know. He says he's looking forward to the REL visit. Personally, he has B&W ASW 608. Good little sub. Good little sub. Yeah, that was an old review. So you've been with me for a long time, RK. He's saying, while it's not a REL, it is amazing, tight, slammy, and musical. Yeah, that's a good little sub. It can't get very loud, but it extends pretty damn low for how little it is, and it will run into distortion quickly if you try to ask too much volume from it. But that's a good little sub, man. And they tend to go on the used market in a lot of places for like around $250. And I think they're a great buy because Bowers & Wilkins has been making those things for like 12, 13, maybe 15 years now. If they could like maybe just update that design and give it like 100 more watts and a driver that can handle it, I think that'd be a fantastic little guy. RK says, keep on keeping on. Best of luck. RK, are you saying are you from India like natively? Because like keep on keeping on is like a very like American saying. I have a lot of clients that are from India, and I've literally never heard any of them use an American phrase like that. And these are guys that have lived in America for 20 years. So I'd be curious if you're originally from somewhere else and maybe moved to India, or if maybe you just consume a lot of American media. Either way, very accurate use of the phrase. Slam says, Slam Gaming says, oh, Slam Gaming, I have a question for you first. So you have the word gaming in your channel. Have you played Clair Obscure Expedition 33? Because that's a phenomenal game. This is the most beautiful gaming experience I've had possibly in my whole life. He says, last week he bought a Q Acoustics 3030i and added a subwoofer, Kanto Sub 8. Love them so much. Awesome, dude. Awesome. That's great. And guys, if it seems like I'm not looking at the camera as much as I usually do, it's because I don't have my monitor today. I just have a little 13-inch laptop, so I have to like look down to read your guys' comments. D-Rap says, dude, it's tough enough in the real world. I don't know what you were referring to. Yeah, sorry, bro. I don't know what you're referring to. Valentine says, I have a big question. I see that REL subwoofers don't go enough low on specs, like 3 dB, 30 hertz. How is it in real life? I never had REL. Great question, Valentine. So REL, I'm trying to say this in a way where I don't disparage others. Marketing. Let's talk about marketing. The job of the people who do marketing generally is to show their product in the most positive light possible, which leads to some exaggerations. And there are many subwoofers extension specs that are exaggerated. That's one aspect of it. REL takes the approach of being fanatically clear and honest and accurate with their specs. 30 hertz in room will, in my room, and your results may vary, translates to closer to like, you know, at your average, you know, stereo listening volume for me, which is like 80, 85 dB. For me, with something like a T7X, translates to about 28, 27, you know, not with crazy authority, but actually, let me look it up, right? Because it depends which one. Hold on. Let's go to, so because you're basically talking about the TX range, right? You're either talking about the T7X or the T9X. Accept cookies. So let's look at the, oh, I clicked on the T9X by accident. Oh, well, let's look at its specs. God, it is so hard doing this from a little 13-inch screen, guys. So they say minus 6 dB, which, just so everyone's clear, is the same as saying plus or minus 3 dB. Just minus 6 is the same as saying plus or minus 3 dB, 27 hertz. My T9X in my room was getting down to closer to 23. Again, these are not massive subwoofers, so I'm not suggesting it was doing, you know, 23, 24 hertz at like 110 dB. You know what I mean? You need like maybe a 15-inch or larger to do that. But for a 10-inch, pretty darn good. Let's take a look at the 7. I believe my experience was the same, just a little bit more than its spec suggested. So the T7X is 30. So you're probably talking about the T7X. Yeah, the T7X for me, about 3 hertz more is what I was getting with room gain. And here's the thing. You're so used to seeing subwoofers claim 18, 19 hertz, you think 27 hertz is bad. But in a stereo, the quality of bass you're getting is so good. You're getting so much more bass texture and beautiful tonality you weren't getting before. You may not notice that, you know, unless you listen to EDM, for example, you may not notice that you're not getting 20 hertz flat. And I mean, the T7X is an 8-inch sub. 8-inch subs can't do 20 hertz flat. I don't care if the spec sheets say they do from some brands. It is very, I'll give you an example. Rhythmic is another brand that's very honest with their subs. They have a subwoofer called the FM8. It has dual 8-inch drivers. And I talked to Brian, the owner and engineer of Rhythmic, and he told me, he's like, to get that sub to 20 hertz flat, you know, we had to add that second driver and give it 900 watts RMS. A single 8-inch driver can't do 20 hertz flat. In many cases, dual 8s in a single cabinet can't do 20 hertz flat. They just can't. They're too little. So what's happening is REL is being honest. And when you see other brands claiming their 8s or their 10s can do, you know, 17, 18, or 19 hertz, that's their marketing department. You want to know how I know? I've emailed companies asking for the data, no reply. And then I get a reply, sorry, I'm working on it. Hey, no problem. Let me know when you have the data. You know, because your specs aren't lining up with what guys in my Discord are measuring. No response. Months go by, and I don't press them, you know? I don't press them. But yeah, so look, just to be clear, from a REL T7X, T5X, T9X, you know, depending on room gain, you might get 2 to 4 hertz more extension in room, right? It's going to sound fantastic, but like, no, they're never going to sound like they're double the size, right? A little T7X with an 8-inch driver is not going to sound like a 12-inch. If you want deep bass extension from REL, you got to buy their HT range, their HT1003 Mark II, their HT1205 Mark II, or their Predator 1510. And those are phenomenal subs too. Oh, where did I leave off? Oh, thank you for clarifying, Dan. Yeah, that'd be a no-brainer. Carlos Gomez says sub amps are notorious for failing. So they say. Have you had any subs that this has happened to? And what was your experience in getting it repaired? Yeah, I did. It's actually pretty rare. It's not that common, actually. So, my experiences as a reviewer, man, like I'm usually going to get pretty good treatment, man. I've had preamps fail. I've had stereo amps fail, and I've had subwoofer plate amps fail. And on all three of those occasions, you know what I mean? They two of them were in warranty, and they just took care of me because two of those components I owned. Well, one of them was a review sample. Of course, they sent a replacement right away. And for the subwoofer plate amp that failed, I hot swap, which means I keep them powered on, and then I plug in RCA cables or unplug them. So, which you're not supposed to do. That might normally void your warranty. But they inspected it and they said like, hey, like you hot swapping it isn't what damaged the review sample, but we appreciate you being honest. It was a resistor. This resistor just blew up, this like $2 part. And they're like, it's just like a 1 in a million failure. It happens. But what I can tell you just from my personal chats I've had with a lot of companies is most companies going above and beyond to handle warranty claims, as long as they don't believe there's some serious or severe customer misuse, right? Most companies fix their stuff, whether it be Emotiva, REL, SVS, Rhythmic, you know what I mean? And keep in mind, if you see more failures from some brands, right? Like for a while, like SVS, people would say like, oh, SVS, their amps always blow up. And it's like, is that what's happening? Or is it that they're the biggest subwoofer company in the world and they sell more subwoofers than anyone? So we're going to hear about their failures more, right? So that's something to keep in mind. The only one I know that might actually be a concern is the new Klipsch RP range, which is a shame because that's a great LFE sub. I talked to a dealer. This is a dealer who said he had 10 fail on him. And he was discontinuing his relationship with Klipsch as a result. He was so upset. He sold 10 of these things to 10 customers, and all 10 failed. That's crazy. My review sample had no problems, though. But no, Carlos, they're not notorious for failing. All electronics have some failure rate. Whether it's your $1,200 iPhone, your $2,000 laptop, your $1,500 TV, or $1,000 subwoofer. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Slayin Gaming says, if I could afford it, I would buy the Sonetto 1s and SVS 1000 Pro, but I'm happy with what I have. I don't know if I would do that pairing. That's a weird pairing. But, I mean, if you like it, who cares? You got the RB42s by Mica paired with the Mica Origin A250 amp. Yeah, I think that's cool. Mica makes good stuff. It's ultra budget gear, but like it sounds decent, man. We all have our budgets. You know what I mean? Someone's asking, Carlo is asking what I think about the Polk subs. The current ES Elite are going on sale for discount. Most Polk subs I've heard, I tend to be able to hear the distortion, some cone breakup and things like that. I'm generally not a fan. I haven't heard the ES Elite specifically though, but Polk also tends to do vented subs with a high tuning frequency. So they're loud. They sound really loud. But 50 hertz tuning that's high, man. It's not the sound I like. That's not proper bass to me. But maybe the ES is different. Fred M says, hey Nemo, just wanted to let you know I'm officially a proper prepper like you. I stocked up on over 20 of those little cleaning sponges. Good job, Fred. Big respect. Because you could do that. No one can stop you. Guys, Fred's referring to a few weeks ago's live stream where I was talking about, I went on this tangent, I don't know why, about You can own more than one bottle of shampoo. You don't have to buy them one at a time. Those little things that are inconvenient to buy, you could stock up. Who's going to stop you? You can have 10 sticks of deodorant in your bathroom under the sink, stored away for just whenever you need a new one. You could have 5 tubes of toothpaste in a drawer in your bathroom as backup, and shampoo and lotion. You don't have to buy these things one at a time as you need them. You could just keep them in stock. Dish sponges. Why not have 20 of them somewhere? Why not? You know, those things don't expire, guys. Like razors. You want to know? I know you're thinking like, what do you mean razors? You have a beard, but I do trim like up here, right? I use a combination of a straight razor and I use a straight razor to get the line and just your regular 2 or 3 blade to get like here to clean it up. I buy 50 packs of disposables. I use them like 2 times and I throw them away. Why wouldn't you? I guess if you're like a crazy environmentalist, it's like I care about the planet, but like, let's not get into it. All right, where'd we leave off? Dan says, wish people would understand and do their homework. I don't even know what you're going to say yet. But I too wish people would understand better and do more homework. Before buying an SVS sub, to me, they are American-based car subs. I was buying in 1992. Thump you over the head with one-note machine. Yes and no. Yes and no. You're not wrong. SVS is SPL style bass. But Dan, a lot of people like that. A lot of people like that. They spend their money on a sub. They want it to make its presence known. They want it to stand out a little bit. A lot of people believe bass should stand out. And those people are really happy owning SVS subs. You know, us audiophiles that want extreme integration, we're a niche within a niche. We're a little group of people. We are a little group of people. And proof of that is that SVS sells more subwoofers than anyone. So us like extreme audiophiles that want maximum integration, we want everything to sound like it's coming from an ink black background. We're a small group. Despite my taste erring towards REL and rhythmic and high SQ subs, I recommend SVS all the time based on what people say. I try, like, what did you have before? Like, are you into car audio? What kind of music do you listen to? What kind of experience are you looking for? Most people want bass that is heavy on their body, on their head, bears down on their ears, rattles their windows, stands out, makes its presence known. Us audiophiles, we can find that a little bit fatiguing, but we're rare, you know? Siphonics Audio says, hey dude, hope you're doing well. Looking forward to the shows and hanging out again. Oh, hell yeah, dude. Yeah, I can't wait for Axpona next year. Axpona is so much fun. Next year at Axpona, guys, remind me if I forget, I am not going to do a single manufacturer dinner. I'm only there to kick it with the audience. The manufacturers, I'm going to see them in the daytime at the show. Don't let me take a single fucking dinner. They take my whole fucking night. 3-hour fucking dinner service. I fucking hate it. Who cares if it's nice food? I don't give a shit. I go there to meet the audience. The manufacturers, I already know all those motherfuckers. I don't want to have 3-4 hour dinners with these people. Like, I like them, don't get me wrong, but then it robs my time of hanging out with the audience where like I get to just be myself and like, you know, just like hang out with you guys. So don't let me do that this year or next year. Slayham says, I'm from India, and yes, I have to pay double the price on music systems. Yeah. So his Q acoustics were $650. Yeah, bro, I get it, man. In the US, we don't have the same problem you have, brother, but there are brands that we pay quite a bit more for. Focal's one of them, for example. We pay about double for some Focal products. RK says, hey, very astute of you, Nemo. Yes, indeed. I did spend 15 years in the US. So yeah, it kind of stayed with me. Hence the keep on keeping on. Yeah. I mean, you're using it properly. Good work. Angel says, hey, Nemo, appreciate the great vids and help on the Discord. What subwoofers did you like most with the Zoo DWX? I'm keeping the DW6 Superflies and want to upgrade from my RSL 10E. Hold on. Believe it or not, I've already recommended this to someone in the Discord and they did it. So you might want to make a post. I can't remember who it is and ask who's the guy that has this setup, and you might want to chat with him. REL 1205 Mark II. Yes, I'm recommending their HT 1205 Mark II, not their T7X, not their T9X. From a tonal standpoint, the Zoo DWX bass is a little bit dry. REL's HT ranges bass is also a little bit dry. REL's HT bass and Zoo's DWX bass is also, it's more about being quick and impactful, and that's how REL's HT range is. So for the DWX, I actually recommend the REL HT 1205. And I do suggest you make a post in the Discord and say, hey, I know someone's got a pair of DWXs and a 1205 Mark II. Who is it? I got questions. Nemo said I get a 1205 for my DW6s. And they should be able to help. Now, the DW6s, I believe those are the bigger towers, so their bass could be different, I suppose. But so far, my experience with the Zoo tells me that their style of bass is probably consistent across the range, but I could be wrong. James says, remind me, did you get the Dynamo 10 in for review? Yes, I'm most likely going to film the review for it tonight. I'll give you a sneak peek. It's a good sub. It's a great sub. But when I asked for the review sample, it was $9.99. Now it's $1,200. Is it still worth it at $1,200? Yes, for particular usage cases. But for most people, my recommendation is save the few $100s more and get the Dynamo 12. Why? You just get so much more. You just get so much more. You just do. And for a couple $100 more, unless you're like an apartment dweller and you just really need those compact dimensions, the 12 just gives you so much more. That's generally the case where the larger model gives you more, but in this case, it's like it's a big difference, man. It is. But the 10 is good too, though. RK says Delaware and New York. Oh, that's where he was, but did travel all over. Loved it. It's a shame that things are the way they are over there now, but hey, history is cyclical. Oh, well, yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down, but I'm not going to expand on it. Fred is laughing at something. Siphonic says amen. Amen hangs with friends. Yeah, exactly. You know. Carlos says most audiophiles say 2 subs are better than 1, but what about a stack of 4 or 6? Like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I've heard REL 6-packs. Upscale Audio had an event for REL 6-packs specifically. I heard a pair of Predator 1510 6-packs, Carbon Special 6-packs, and S812 6-packs. Yeah, it's freaking awesome, dude. Just most of us don't have the space or budget for it. I mean, takes a lot. Dan Black retracted a message. Yup, says Buenos Aires? Spanish? Anyway, says, do you have a digital player? Did you have any Walkmans in the past? And do you miss it? I, as a child, had the Sony. What is it? Was it called My Walkman or like My Sony? Do you remember Sony when we were all kids had a brand for kids called My Sony? And it was built incredibly well. Maybe it was my first Sony. And that was a cassette player. And it was great. It's probably at my mom's house somewhere and it probably still works. But no, I'm a digital only guy. I don't like owning physical media. I'm a minimalist, as you can tell, mostly by what my home looks like. I just use a streamer. I use the Blue Sound Node 2 USB out to a, well, first I use the LHY power supply upgrade in it. And then it goes USB out to the live DDC and then live DDC to the live micro DAC. Dan Black says, but I feel like if people did their homework and actually heard proper bass, they would understand, but maybe not. No, Dan, that's not the case. I promise you. Something I used to do when the channel was smaller is I would sometimes meet local subscribers in the comments, and I would say something like, if you were local, I'd say you can come by. And in a few occasions they were local, and a few local subscribers came over, and I did the SVS rhythmic and REL test for a few of them. The guys that were more that niche audiophile, yeah, it went exactly as you expected. But there was a few guys that came over. One of them was a sound engineer. I put on a REL sub. I think it was the pair of T5Xs, and he's like, sounds good, but like, where's the slam? He's like, that's not bass. I'm like, okay. I pulled out my Rhythmic F12, a very capable subwoofer that can get tremendously loud, for its compact dimensions. And he goes, again, it sounds good and cohesive, but he's like, where's the bass? And I'm like, it's rattling the fucking windows. What do you mean, my man? I'm like, all right, fuck it. I took out the Rhythmic, I put in the SB3000, and he goes, that's bass. That's what I'm talking about. And this guy was a sound engineer. So it depends what you believe bass is. For the niche audiophile, we believe bass is something that's subtle, powerful, but subtle. The average consumer believes bass should be impactful and in your face. Those are two really different things, right? And I'm not trying to be an SVS apologist. This is just what I've learned. And it's human nature to think that everyone thinks like us and everyone will like the things we like. That's human nature, but it's just not the case. Richard McCoy, one of the most OG subscribers to the channel. Hey Nemo, love you, brother. Thank you, Richard. Love you too. I would say no homo, but maybe it isn't a homo way. You know what I mean? You could decide, right? I'm just playing. Just wanted to pop in. I have to go see my mother-in-law right now in the hospital. God bless. I hope she's okay. This is twice in 2 weeks with heart complications. Got a jet by. Well, for those of you who believe in a higher power, send a prayer out for Richard's mother-in-law. May she be doing okay and either, recover well, or if, God forbid it is, I don't know how old she is, but if she's in her 90s perhaps, and it is that time, may it be smooth and easy. That might sound grim, but there's a difference. I remember when my grandfather passed, it was with so much struggle, so much medical complication, and it was terrible. But then my grandmother, when she went, smooth, baby. Easy, smooth, with a smile on her face. And the difference it had on the family was shocking, So many more people were like at peace. And she was like a tough woman, though. I remember. Guys, this is a funny story to me. Who has a funny story of someone on their deathbed? But I think you'll see what I mean. My grandmother's on her deathbed, right? She's, 80 something. And my mom is like crying, like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right, which was not true. And my grandmother would just musters up all her energy, kind of sits up a little bit and goes, stop. What do you say? Stop. I raised 5 kids. I raised 5 grandchildren. My husband's gone and I'm going to meet him. Stop being so dramatic. And then she laid back down and I was just like, what a hardcore woman. Oh my God. And that's always given me so much peace, man. Her passing was, I missed her, sure, but I wasn't very sad over it because she went so peacefully, and it was a beautiful thing to see. What else we got? Jasek says, thanks for the great reviews, Nemo. What would you recommend as a power node pairing? I got a REL sub. What do you mean as a power node pairing? I don't know what you're asking. Are you asking for a DAC recommendation, a speaker recommendation? Let me know, Jasek, what you're asking for, and I will give you a recommendation. King Dranzer, what's up, dude? He says, for reference, why I say DIY subs is the best for India, because SVS SB2000 is 1100. That's not too far off from its US price. Look, I'll tell you its US price right now. I think it's like 900, so that's not much more. 990, so $1,000 for gloss paint, 900 for the vinyl finish. So your price isn't that much higher. Let me go back to your comment though. So the PB2000 is 1400 and the REL 1205 is, that's high. The REL 1205 at 1500 is high. So yeah, DIY is better. Yeah. So he says most guys are getting a date and they're an SB Acoustics driver. Get the enclosure done from a furniture shop, which charge very low for here because India. Yeah, I can see that. Pair it with a crown amp. Very good reliability long term. Yeah, I can see that being good. Absolutely. DIY can be fantastic. King Dranzer says also that he still has a Walkman Gen 2 in working condition. Gen 1 and Gen 3 are sadly not working anymore. Those are all my dad's, not mine. LOL, I am not that old, but they are precious to me. I use them a lot. That's nice. Dan says makes total sense. Probably referring to the what I was saying about SVS and what a lot of consumers are looking for. Let me get some water, guys. Give me a second. Al says, hello, Nemo. Good to see you. Good to see you type. You know what I'm saying? Good to see you type, man. Jacek says he meant pairing of a bookshelf speaker to a Blue Sound power node. So it just depends what kind of sound you want, bro. It depends what kind of sound you want and what kind of budget you got. You know, I'm guessing, you know, based on what you have, you maybe you got a budget of $1,000 to $2,000. If you want something that's going to have some good sparkles to it and, you know, good bass and just like a good, fun, easygoing sound that you can pair with anything, you know, Dyne Audio Emit 20. If you want something that is more resolving and you don't mind letting your sub handle most of the bass and you don't listen all that loud, you might like the Kef LS50 Meta. You know, if you want a sound that is more like natural and a little bit more colorful, you know, and again, you're going to let your sub do most of the heavy lifting, you might like the Zoo Methods. There's a lot of options, bro. Yeah. I'd need to know more, you know, or maybe it's a theater. If it's a theater, maybe you'd actually prefer something like the Arundel 1723 Bookshelf S because they have a lot of headroom, you know, and this huge open sound that's very expansive. How many people we got in here? 39. Only 16 likes. That's why there's not more people in here, guys. You have to hit the like button. I don't care about the analytics, but if we want more people to participate, the more you click the like button, the more YouTube lets other subscribers know that this live stream is happening. YouTube does not alert all the subscribers, only a small group. I don't know if the chat crashed or if it just slowed down. What's the time at? 68 minutes. James Derby, thank you for the like. I see you. I see someone else. Oh, 4 or 5 people just did it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a very antiquated thing YouTube does. I don't know why it works that way. It's stupid. You know, I think it maybe should be based more on engagement, right? But it's stupid. Like even I don't hit the like button. I'll watch videos that I love and I don't hit the like button. Like why do I have to go and be like thumbs up? It's such an odd, antiquated thing they do. But unfortunately, content creators are like a slave to it. So and like I still don't do it though. I still like in my reviews, I never do that, you know, smash subscribe and like, and I never do that, but I should. RK says, I like you. I thought he was saying I like you. I was like, well, okay. But no, he's saying I, comma, like you or similar to you, Emma SQL all the way. As John Hunter says, you shouldn't even realize the sub is on until it's turned off. It should augment and complete music as against be noticed for its own sake. if that's what you want, right? Which is what a lot of us audiophiles want. Yes. I personally agree with John Hunter, but some consumers may not, and that's what's interesting about this hobby, right? Like there's people that say a good speaker should convey the music as the artist intended. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't give a shit what the artist intended. I don't care at all what the artist intended. I only care that it sounds good to my ears based on my personal taste. I don't care if the song wasn't supposed to have as much bass as it has on my system. I don't care. I don't care if it wasn't supposed to sound that expansive or have that much airspace and separation. If it's what I like, that's how it's going to sound on my system. Graham says room size versus sub size and room gain. That's a statement. I'm not sure if there's a question in there, Graham. If you clarify that, I'd be happy to elaborate if there's elaboration that can be done, but that's looking like a statement so far. Yup says, I say his name like that because that's how it's typed. It's YUP exclamation point. So that's how I can't just say yup says. I have to say yup. Said to Jacek, do you have the Pylon brand nearby? RK says, all high-end stereo gear is available here in India. Some of it is just super expensive, some not. Okay. Well, that's interesting to know. So it's not like you guys don't have options. It's just a lot of the options that may be considered, say, mid-priced, right? Like mid to high-priced, maybe in most regions, is maybe high-end priced in India or just cost prohibitive. I can see that. Carlo Gomez says, what I noticed with the subs is how they sound very much depending on where they are placed in the room. Yeah, 100%. Luckily, subs are easier to implement than tower speakers. Depends. It depends. But yeah, dude, room placement is paramount for a subwoofer. You put the sub in the wrong place, you could end up with less space. You get your phase wrong, you could end up with less space. You can end up with cancellations and all kinds of issues. The location is very important. Graham retracted a message. I'm guessing you're attempting to clarify your statement. I'm going to take a toot while we wait. I'm not vaping as much today. This could be why YouTube doesn't send my stream out to a lot of people too. Because I vape on stream. They don't like that. And I swear, even though swearing is allowed, it's just something in the analytics. I'm less likely to be on our For You page of someone or recommended. Yeah, so tonight I'm going to try to film the review for the... Well, first I got to fucking hit triceps. I got to work out because these heavy subwoofers aren't going to lift themselves. I'm trying to get more jacked, but it's hard at my age, man. If I push myself too hard, I risk injury. If I don't push myself hard enough, I don't really get the gains I'm looking for. So it is what it is. But tonight I'm going to try to film a review for the Dynamo 10 as well as the Vincent 228. Oh, a bunch of comments just came in. King Dranzer says, we don't get Sony ES high-end AVRs here. Sad they're not the current. Yeah, no region gets everything, guys. Yup, says Nemo. Are you interested? And I'm always going to say it like that, guys. I'm going to commit to it. Are you interested in overseas brands or maybe even something boutique? Not really. And the reason, yup, is because overseas brands and boutique brands, they're not interested in working with me. And for good reason. One, Their shipping costs to get me a review sample is going to be higher. And smaller companies understandably have more budgets, budgetary constraints. And two, I'm already a niche channel. I'm a small channel and they're a small brand. Video's not going to do well. It's just not. There was one niche brand that reached out to me, Sigberg, to review their 10D subwoofer. And I told the guy, I'm like, hey, no offense, you're a niche brand. Nobody in the USA has heard of Sigberg. Nobody in UK, for the most part, has heard of Sigberg. And my channel is small. I will review your subwoofer, but we cannot have high expectations on views. Maybe my 2,000 most loyal subscribers that watch anything I produce will watch it, but like, that's it. And he's like, that's okay. I don't mind. You know what I mean? That's okay. So I reviewed it, but most smaller brands, you know, they'd rather work with someone that is going to blow them up and get a lot of eyes on their products. And that's not what I do. My channel is not geared towards advertising. My channel is geared towards helping people make a purchasing decision when they are stuck in the obsession phase of the purchasing cycle. That's my personal goal. That's my mission, is to help people stop obsessing, make a decision, or help them make it easier to make a decision. Try to remind them buying is supposed to be fun so that they can make that decision and get back to enjoying their system, right? I'm not gonna ever be the good channel to advertise for someone or get a ton of eyes in front of something. Like, my channel is truly for the audience to help you guys make a decision, or maybe provide some fucking entertainment if you like the way I talk, I guess. Johnny says, good evening. Have you any opinions on Tone Winner subs? I've never heard them. They look like junk to me, but I could be totally wrong. They look like they're just your typical affordable LFE sub. And that's okay. That is okay, you know, because they're not expensive. It's not like they're trying to, you know, charge people a ton of money for those things. So I'm sure they're okay. But again, my channel being focused on 2-channel stereo, most of us audiophiles are not interested in subwoofers that give you tremendous room rumble for the money. Most of you guys are looking for integration, dynamics, note-to-note distinction, good handling of delicate passages and things like that, and great integration, and really, you know, affordable LFE subs just don't do that. They just don't. Even if it's from a good brand name, like even like Klipsch, like the RP1200 SW is a great rumble sub, but like you're not going to like it in a high end or even mid end, even maybe in a $3,000 2-channel stereo. You know, you're not going to like it. Josek says, thanks to your review, I got an old Heko Metas now, which is kind of similar to the Heko Solon 3. But I feel I missed the resolution and separation I heard in borrowed monitor audio product. You know, Hekos don't all sound the same. Like the Aurora was dark and rolled off in the top and very warm. The Salon Revolution 3 is a resolution monster though, bright, energetic, forward. I don't know what the Metas sound like. Monitor audio tends to have a more forward and detail focused sound though. They tend to have a house sound. They make good stuff. Graham Heron says, so can more smaller multi-subs gain deeper-ish bass than one big sub? No, not really. What you gain with multiple subs is a lot of things. You can get a little bit more extension in some ways. But say like 2 REL T5Xs, which if we come 2 8-inch drivers would be equal to like 1 11-inch driver. So 2 REL T5Xs will not have more extension than 1 T9X. And a T9X is a 10-inch. So even though technically the 2 smaller 8s have more cone area in total with 11 inches compared to the single T9X's 10 inches, the single T9X will still extend lower than the pair of T5Xs for most people in most rooms. Room gain could change that in some situations, but and it's the same, RSL. Two RSL 10Ss, even 3 or 4 RSL 10Ss will not have the extension of a single RSL 12S. The RSL 12S can do 16 hertz. You're not going to gain, 8, 9, 10 hertz of extension by having multiple subs. You're just not. Because what you're running into with small subs, the reason they don't extend low is that low deep bass extension is below their FS, right? Which is the cone's resonant frequency. Smaller drivers tend to have a higher resonant frequency. Say an 8-inch could have a resonant frequency around 38 hertz. That means below 38 hertz, your likelihood of distortion just goes up, right? And not in a linear way, kind of like exponentially goes up the likelihood for distortion. So they can't, while they can, if it's a really beefy sub, you can abuse it a little bit and force it to play lower than its resonant frequency. And we see that all the time with most modern DSP subs, but it's going to hit a limit where at some point it's just going to turn into a distortion monster. Whereas like a really big sub, like a bigger driver just naturally tends to have a lower resonant frequency. And you can see that in the small parameters. For anyone who's into car audio, like we know this stuff, right? And that's, on one hand, I feel like the car audio guys that are really into it, not the guys that just like shove a sub in a random box. And no, I'm talking about the car audio guys who pair the driver with the correct cabinet enclosure, with the correct port tuning frequency, with the correct port area, the guys who know these things, because we're real car audio guys, tend to have an advantage in selecting the right home audio subwoofer because we have some of this fundamental knowledge that a lot of the home guys don't have, because in home audio, TS parameters are not published because you're buying a finished system. But in car audio, it's all DIY. So you're forced to learn if you want good results. Like my sub in my car, I designed the box and I sent the plans to someone and had them build it. So the tuning frequency, the port area, all of that, the size, the dimensions, the thickness of the front baffle, the sidewalls, everything I designed based on the TS parameters of the driver I was using, and accounted for the fact that I knew I was going to be tuning it below its resonant frequency. I knew I'd be abusing it. So I also knew I'd be sacrificing a lot of headroom. So I had to choose a driver that was supremely capable because I was going to be cutting its power handling in half, right? And as a result of knowing those things, I was able to design a sub that I'm tremendously happy with, right? Whereas in home audio, you just don't have access to that information. But, that's why generally multiple smaller subs will not extend lower than one big sub, regardless of the brand. 2 SVS, 3, 4 SVS SB1000s will not extend as low as a PB2000 Pro. It just won't. I'm trying to see where I left off. All right, Carlos says, do you think yesterday's high value subs, say from the 90s, are better than the lower price models of today? It depends, but probably not. The lower price subs today are probably better than the high value subs from 35 years ago. A 35-year-old sub, its adhesives have dried and cracked for the most part. Its cone surround is most likely degrading. It needs to be rebuilt. Its capacitors are probably leaking. If it was a 300 watt sub, you might be lucky to get 175, 200 watts out of it. Most subs from the 90s, even the Velodynes that were good for the time, are absolute one-note wonders by today's standards. No. I'd rather have a decent sub from today than a great sub that's 25 years old. Yup, says yes, yes, but maybe personal interest. I gotta scroll up, bro. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Oh, overseas brands. I mean, I was curious. I wanted to review BK subwoofers. So I like emailed them, but then and they were responding. But the minute I told them I was a reviewer, they stopped responding. I sent 3 follow-ups and they didn't reply. So again, it seems like most of the overseas brands, they're not interested in working with me. Also, it's not valuable to the audience to show them a brand they can't buy. The bulk of my audience is in the US and the UK. If the sub can't be bought in the US, like 60% of my audience is going to be like, bro, like, great product, but I can't even buy it. Like, thanks for nothing, you know? Jay Gao says, any experience with the Perlison R8S? No, but I do know the master distributor. Really nice guy. As soon as there's a review sample available, he's gonna send me one. Right now, they're so new and so popular. They're selling like hotcakes. And my stance is always, if the product is selling like hotcakes, I don't want a review sample. I don't want to take away the opportunity of a customer to buy the sub. Because if they send me a review sample, that's one less subwoofer that a customer can buy, right? And I don't want to do that. So I will only take review sample once they have excess inventory. King Dranzer says, what? Tone Winner is cheap? I mean, it used to be. Is it not cheap anymore? Let me check. Products. So they make a lot of amps. Am I mixing them up with someone else? I thought they made cheap shit. So here's their subwoofer. Of course, no fucking price. No fucking price. Let me see if I can find like a retail website that sells them. Here we go, Summit Hi-Fi. Looks like they sell some Tone Winner stuff. I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, here's a 16 channel processor. They sell $1,500. That's cheap for what they're giving you. Oh, their subs have gone up in price quite a bit. Yeah, they're pretty expensive, man. Pretty fucking ugly too, but I mean, it looks like their 10 inches is a little more affordable, but here's like a 12-inch ported, 1,075. All their subs are ported. So this is a LFE company, you know? They're just making Rumble subs, which is okay. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think I would buy this. Like, it just seems like off-brand. It seems like some off-brand shit. I could be wrong. I mean, but it just seems like some off-brand shit. I don't know. Let me get back to the comments. I'll close some of these tabs. Got too many tabs open. Carlos says, your mission has helped many to pick the best value sub for today. Probably saved lots of headaches and financial losses. Keep up the good work in today's YouTube quagmire. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. Johnny Bandage. Shit, I thought that said bondage, bro. I was going to be like, whoa, chill. Yes, they have a cheap look and price. I hear some people compare Tone Winner to SVS. Interestingly, I'm also curious about the cheaper 10 and 12 Dynamo foundation that Martin Logan offers. I'm not, unfortunately. So I don't know if I'll be reviewing them, bro. But we'll see. We'll see. Yup, says King Dranzer. Yeah, we have them in the low and mid segment. King Dranzer says, wow, I seriously did not know they had under 1K models too. Cool. Yup, says, I can't buy anything, but I watch every review. Thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you. You don't have to buy everything, you know? Everyone's got a damn budget. I don't buy stuff that often. Like, pay attention, guys. My system is like very similar to how it was a couple of years ago. I don't often buy stuff. The live micro DDC and micro DAC are what's called a long-term review sample. That means so long as I use it for my channel, it's mine on loan. But let's say I get a review sample from someone else. I'm like, I like this one more. I want to use this one more. I don't own the live DDC and DAC. I can't sell it. I have to email them and say, hey, thank you for the long-term loan. I'm finished using it for my channel. I'm happy to send it back now. I have to give it back. The Zoom methods, same thing. The Zoom methods are a loan. You know what I mean? So like, it's not like I can just sell them randomly. What else? The Bookheart E50, those are mine. The Platimons, those are mine. You know, like I paid for those items. I don't think I bought like really anything else. Oh, I mean, I bought the LHY power supply for my Node. That was like $300, you know? And then a really cool thing happened actually. My Node broke. And I was talking to Alvin from Vinshine and on like through like texting apps. I can't remember how it came up. I think I was like, hey, I think I was asking if the LHY PSU that he sells, because I had the Node 2i, and I was like, does it have the same improvements on the newer model Node, the Node 2? And he's like, yeah, why? I'm like, oh, my Node is like skipping really bad. I need to buy like the new one. So I'll probably buy the new Node 2 and then order like another LHY power supply and stuff. And he was like, oh, he's like, dude, I have like a few extras that just like sit here collecting dust. Like you can have one. And he legit just like gifted me a streamer, just a regular Blue Sound Node with the LHY PSU. And what he was saying is, you know, because they sell these LHY PSU kits, they test them on a few different streamers. So they don't just like put it in one node and be like, yeah, it sounds great. They'll put it in like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? They test the hell out of them. So like once they're finished testing, they just have like all these streamers that have been modified with these different power supplies that just collect dust. So he gifted that to me. And when it arrived, it was named Vinshine Node, and I just left it that way. And that was really cool. You know what I mean? That was really nice of them. But I don't even, you know, buy a lot of new gear for myself, you know? Johnny Bandage says, Abdul Su VTF 15 Mark IIs for a while now. They have been good, but I am more interested in going sealed. How about you stay vented and go with a rhythmic instead? Hear me out. You want to go sealed because you want better sound quality, but if you have vented subs right now, that tells me you value the room rumble effects and deep bass extension that only vented subs can generally offer, unless you step up to very large sealed subs, which I don't think you want to do. So, what if you could have the best of both worlds? That's what Rhythmic Servo Tech does. And they have a patent on it, so their servo is not like other servos, and there's not even a lot of servo brands in the market. Rhythmic servo subs tend to, in my experience, outperform most brand sealed subs in terms of note-to-note distinction, tightness, integration, handling of delicate passages, nuanced detail, fidelity, all those fidelity words we want to use to describe bass. Rhythmic vented subs outperform many brand sealed subs. Yet they still have that powerful and controlled and forceful deep bass extension that vented subs have. That's what I would recommend you consider. Otherwise, if you're going from vented to sealed for fidelity, you're going to want to go for like, I mean, what are the VTF 15s? Are those 12s or 15s? Let me look. VTF 15H Mark II. I don't know if they even make that one anymore, but I don't see it, bro. So maybe they don't make that one anymore. But if that's a 15-inch vented sub, you're gonna have to step up to sealed 18s if you want sealed subs and like similar like bass power and stuff. Oh, here I found a page. So this is a Stereo Files review from back in the day. $900 back in the day, 10 years ago. They look like 12s. No. No, they're let's see. Sue Reachers offers 9 cells on their website. The newest models, this was their flagship back in the day, VTF 15H Mark II and the step down VTF 3 Mark V HP. Up the ante from their previous offerings with a beefier 15-inch woofer. So these are vented 15s you have. No, bro, you're gonna have a hard time going to sealed subs, bro. You're gonna be giving up a lot. You're gonna be giving up a lot, bro. I would suggest you consider something like a pair of Rhythmic FVX 15s, or if you really want sealed, you're gonna have to go with the Rhythmic F18s. Yeah. My butt is starting to hurt on this damn chair. How long has it been? Ugh. Let's see, 95 minutes. Close to the tail end of this stream, I'd say. So that was Johnny, yeah. Let me see if Johnny left a follow-up. I do, and I use them for my gaming setup, but want some new sealed subs for separate 2-channel. Oh, separate. Okay. She's going to check out the Rhythmics. I definitely want 15s, though. So, yeah, man. I mean, if you want 15s, I mean, and you want them to be sealed, Rhythmic E15 HP2, that's a badass sub. If that's not available in your region, REL Predator HT1510, that's another monster. There's also the new SVS SB5000. I haven't heard it, though. I haven't heard it. It's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably that more in-your-face presentation. You having a pair of vented 15s, you may prefer that more in your face presentation. The good thing about SVS, easy to demo. They're very popular. They're sold, I believe, in most Best Buy stores. So King says, yeah, no, they are really decent. King, are you in California? That's such a California thing to say, yeah, no. That's how I talk. So King says, yeah, no, they are really decent. Actually not Sue Rhythmic or REL or even close, but seriously close to SVS. Not processing. How I got to know about them is when I was recommending Canadian Friend. Oh, for Tone Winner? Yup, says, I already have 2 pairs of speakers in each living room. Nice. As you should. Carlos says, once you find components you love, you usually stop. Yeah, you stop spending. But many keep on the merry-go-round and keep spending for better or worse. That is the hi-fi version of chasing the dragon. 100%, yes. You're more like a gear file at that point. You're more like into trying new things, the people that are always on the hunt. And that's a different way to enjoy the hobby, but it's not the way I enjoy the hobby. King says, Rhythmic, I wish they still ship the kits. Yeah, I guess not enough people bought them. It is what it is. They're a small enough company, King, where if you're willing to put down a payment up front and be patient, and you phrase the question that way to them in an email, they may special order something or special put together something for you. I don't know if they would or not. I don't know what the turnaround time would be or the cost, but they might if you ask. Johnny says, appreciate your time and answers. No problem, brothers. Hope you enjoy your Sunday too. Ed Beck, what's up, dude? He says, hey, Nemo, how's it going? It's going good, bro. It's going good. No complaints. Life is good. I got the new car. I'm driving that thing around a ton, having a lot of fun with it. I'm not sick anymore. I was sick for like 5 weeks, dude. First, I got the flu from a business trip. And then 3 weeks later, when I recovered from that, I got a sinus infection from my buddy's 2-year-old. And that was another 2 weeks. So in total, I was sick for 5 weeks. I couldn't hear anything. That's why my last few reviews you guys are seeing are those comparison videos on stuff I've already reviewed. Because I was basically like deaf. I could only hear it like one ear out of a time. I could only hear out of one ear at a time. So I couldn't like sit down and listen to the Vincent or the Dynamo sub. Like I couldn't make any new reviews. It was super frustrating, but we're good now. Johnny says, one last question is about wireless sub kits. Any good or any latency issues? I made a review for the REL wireless kit, the HT Air you can watch. And I would appreciate it if you watched it. But I use one here. I have a Hagel H190 and Supermon Minis. And back there behind the couch, I have a Kef KC62. And I will not run a fucking wire across my living room. That's going to look stupid. So I use the REL HT Air. I have not noticed any latency issues. I haven't. So my advice continues to be, and it has always been for wireless transmitters, if running cables is aesthetically not an option, that's what the wireless kit is for. And you should use it. Does it sound as good? Close enough. I have quite the ear for bass fidelity. So if I'm saying it's close enough, I think many people will not hear a difference. Use it. You know what I mean? But I would not use a wireless kit if it was easy to run a cable. You know, I hope that helps. And for what it's worth, your subwoofer cable does matter. Don't use one of those cheap red and white cables that come in the box. It does make a difference. I'm not a cable pusher, but it makes a difference. It doesn't need to be expensive. It certainly can be. You could buy one of REL's cables. They're really nice. I have a couple of those in for review. But even like at minimum, I beg you guys, please spend $40 and just buy like the world's best RCAs on Amazon. The name of the brand is World's Best. They have RCA cables on Amazon for like $30 to $40. At minimum, use those for your subwoofers, okay? And you'll see what I mean. If you're using those really cheap, $8, $9, $10 cables, you'll see what I mean. There's a big difference. Also, if possible, leave your subwoofer on. Do not turn your subwoofer off. Do not set it to auto. Most modern subwoofers draw maybe a watt, when they're set to on and not playing a signal. Maybe 5 watts. Who cares? You're looking at $20 a year in electricity. Leave them on. The plate amp sounds different when it's been powered on for a few hours. It again sounds different when it's been powered on for more than a day or two. A cold subwoofer will never sound the same as one that's up to operating temperatures, and those caps and all those electronics have been having electricity flow through them. I don't know why. I'm not a fucking engineer, but I have confirmed this theory of mine with multiple engineers from multiple companies, and they're all like, yeah, that is definitely something you want to do for the best sound. Yup, says, would you let guys? I'll stop doing it if it's annoying. If you tell me it's annoying, I'll stop doing it. But it's I think it's funny. Says, where'd he go? Fuck. Okay, so I read. Okay, here we go. And would you like to make a video about synergistic pairs, which you have found we are very interested, such as selections, for the sake of general knowledge? No, that doesn't sound like a fun video to make. Then people will take it out of context. My recommendations are for the most part based on synergy already. Like the Iota VX SA40 and the Totem Bison bookshelves are a phenomenal pairing. Focal Aria 906 speakers with any REL TX sub are a beautiful pairing. Those same Focal Aria 906 speakers with the Vincent 228 amp is a beautiful pairing. Most of the stuff I recommend is if they tell me what they have, I'll account for synergy. I don't want to make a video just based on synergy though. I don't know. Maybe I will. I'll think about it, bro. I'll think about it. I'll be honest. The problem is people are dumb. A lot of people are dumb, and that's what I worry about. I'm worried if I make a fucking video and I say the Focal Aria 906 has beautiful synergy with REL TX subwoofers, people are going to turn that into Focal and REL pair together well all the time, no matter fucking what. Which isn't true. The Focal Kenta #1 bookshelf speakers wouldn't pair well with anything except JL audio. I could get them to sound good, but I had to really work for it. The Focal Canta #1 wanted a JL Audio E-Series sub, the E110. That's what it liked. That's where that synergy was. And I hate when motherfuckers take what I have to say out of context. So I don't know, bro. I'll give it some thought, you know? So, and you got to remember, like, my goal isn't to make videos just for entertainment or for just for fun. Like, I want to make videos to help people make purchasing decisions. You know what I mean? Not just for the sake of knowledge. I'll be honest, those conversations that are just for the sake of knowledge, I don't enjoy those conversations. Those conversations annoy me. Like when people are like, how does this really little sub compare to this really massive sub? And I'm like, are you in the market to buy either? And they're like, no, I just always wondered. I don't want to help people with the I always wondered. Those people have like a million stupid questions that don't make sense. And yeah, there is such a thing as a stupid question. How do we think a small sub compares to a giant sub? Like, it's obvious. The bigger sub gets lower and fucking louder, you know? Size matters. And I don't know if I want to take my channel in that direction, bro, where I'm just like doing stuff for the sake of curiosity. Because I don't enjoy those conversations. Even in my Discord, I don't talk to people a lot. I don't just engage in like audio dialogue, like in theory. I hate those conversations. Even like I've had to tell people, some people like DM me a lot, just trying to chat with me. I'm like, hey, like I'm not trying to be rude here, but I don't like enjoy just chatting about hi-fi for the sake of it. I know some people do, and that is totally okay. That's why I have the free Discord. It's for those guys. I don't. I only enjoy chatting about audio with a purpose. It's just how my brain is. It's nothing personal to anyone. Yeah, King is saying he tried to reach out to Rhythmic, but yeah, they didn't even respond. Johnny says, what's better all-around speaker, Galleon TS Voyager TL or Crichton one? Crichton. Easy choice, and here's why. The Galleon transmission line bookshelf speaker is a very niche sound. It is a very niche sound. It can be a beautiful sound, and you can get that speaker to sound fantastic, but it is a very niche sound. It is the darkest speaker I've ever reviewed, so you better not be wanting resolution. It's for the customer that only cares about a natural and extremely tonally rich sound. It's a very niche sound. It's a tough one to recommend. Usually the people that buy it are just curious. It's a very interesting sound. It can be a great sound. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Thomas let me hold on to that for like 6 months because I really liked it. But despite me really liking it, the CSS is a way better all-arounder, you know, because even though the CSS also has a very tonally rich mid-range, you get more resolution. It's a sound that's going to work well with a wider variety of genres. It's going to work better in a wider variety of rooms. It's going to work better with a wider variety. Well, maybe not a wider variety of amplifiers because the CSS does need some power. It can play louder. Its bass is tighter. It's more articulate. The Galleon transmission line speakers in general are picky with rooms. That's something a lot of people don't know. The CSS is the easier recommendation and the better all-arounder, in my opinion. In that situation, you just got to build it, right? Sorry, Thomas. I do love your speaker, but I need to have a longer conversation with people before I recommend it. Johnny saying he'll watch the HT Air video after the stream. Thank you, bro. Carla says, when you're testing various subs for reviewing, do you always place them in? Yes, I place them in the same location. Carlos, like, I know my room is what it is, right? So like, there's no need for me to test subs in different locations in my room, because I've just already done it like hundreds of times. I'll be honest, most of the time, I set the settings on the sub before I even power it on. I plug it in, I leave it on for like an hour, and then I come down and listen, and it's like 95% set up perfectly already. I've just set up so many subs. I can like guess the settings it needs. If I've reviewed a sub from that brand before, There's been like, if it's a REL or a rhythmic, there's a good chance whatever settings I set cold without even plugging it in are 100% perfect. And I don't even need to like mess with it, which is awesome. Awesome. It makes my life so much easier. But most people should test in different locations because most people are not reviewers. They have not, you know, I've tested subs even like outside of the room. I have like a hallway off to the side. And I even tried that. Like I've literally tried everything in my room. Ed Beck, what's up, man? He says you liked the video about friend or foe. Thank you. Yeah. Yup, says it is amazing. Johnny Bandage says lol. Yup. It's probably we're both doing it basically because of storage wars, you know? All right, guys, we're at 110 minutes. About the 2-hour mark is when the stream naturally tends to die down. That's when I tend to start wrapping things up. I'm not going to sit here and overstay my welcome. If questions come in, I'll answer them, but usually at about 120 minutes, 132 minutes is for sure I'm done. My ass just hurts too much from sitting in the same chair. King says, you know, Dad got Sony MDR R110 for like 500. I don't get it. Ed says, how excited are you about going to REL? I think it'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it, bro. I'm excited just to like see the stuff, you know. Like the S850 already like blew me away, so I'm sure I'll just be blown away, honestly, and I'll probably just come back like with the biggest challenge being how to put that into words, because when something gets so good, it's really hard to put it into words. Like my Carbon Special review was a big challenge for me. It was really hard for me to find a way to articulate that level of greatness, because you do start to run out of words, right? At least I do. Maybe someone with a more advanced vocabulary would do better than me. King says he got that from custom store at airport. I think they're talking to each other. Yeah. Yup, says it was great. Thank you. I think that, I don't know if people are talking to me or other people, but I'm gonna wait like 30 seconds, see if anyone's got like a burning desire of a question. Yeah, Bill, I'll be making a video about the REL trip for sure. What my plan is to maybe film as much footage as I can while I'm there for B-roll. And then like when I get back, it'll just be like me in my room as usual talking, but I'll try to cut to as much B-roll as possible. And hopefully that makes people feel like they were there with me. Like, so if I'm talking about, you know, maybe there was a Carbon 6-pack I was listening to and I'm describing it. Maybe if I can, I'll like cut to a video of it so you guys could see it, and things like that. I probably won't do any live interviews and things like that. But that's kind of the style. So I hope you guys like that. King saying have a great day. He's out later. King, thanks for joining. And you were in here for quite a while. Thank you. So yeah, but yeah, Bill, this is pretty much the tail end of the stream. And so you commented, I was just going to take a minute to see if anyone had like a final question they wanted to ask or some help they needed with something before I wrap it up. But you guys know I leave these streams up so you could watch them afterwards if you really want to. And I don't expect anyone to sit down glued to their phone watching it. Like, let the stream play as you're doing laundry, cleaning your home, vacuuming, washing dishes, cooking a meal. Listen to it in the background. That's how I consume most content, especially long form content. Thanks, Bill. I'm glad it sounds like you think that'll be a good idea for the video. Yeah, I wish I was, you know, as good as someone like Jay-Z Aggie. I mean, the way he covered that Samsung event was incredible, you know, but I don't have the ability to do something like that. I just don't. Ed Saint C, you have a good one and nice background music. Thank you. Yeah. I'm playing it more for me, honestly. It just helps me set the mood, I guess, you know? All right, guys, I say it's been about a minute. I don't see any questions coming in. We did this stream for 115 minutes almost. It'll be 115 by the time I wrap up. I'll leave you guys with this. I'm not trying to get political or nothing, but don't let social media tell you who to like and who to dislike. You know what I'm saying? Holidays are coming up. You know, be friendly with your family. Don't let any modern events in the world have you treat someone that you normally would like a different way. Don't let it keep you up at night. You know what I'm saying? Keep your own house clean. That's all you can really control. Shit like that. People try to get political with me sometimes, especially in the Discord. I just be like, dude, just live your own life. Be a good man. You know, be a good husband if you're a good husband. Be a good father if you're a father. That's all we got, guys. You know what I mean? That's my parting advice, you know. What are people saying? Thanks, Nemo. Have a great day. See you. Have a good one. Nice back. Okay, I already read some of those. Big props for the new Rode mic. Big props. I've had this for a long time. I've been using this on live streams for maybe a year now. I'm glad it sounds good, though. But yeah, everyone have a good day. Enjoy your Sunday activities. Next stream probably be like October. I try to do these once a month. Sometimes if I'm free, I'll do like 2 in a month, but usually 1 is what I try to commit to personally. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Thank you for all the questions. They were all a lot of fun to answer. I'll be at the REL event Wednesday and Thursday, so not that weekend, but hopefully the next weekend I'll have the video out, okay? And yeah, that's it, guys. Enjoy. Take care.